Okay, well, thank you, Jared, very much for joining us today on this episode of Branching Out.
Yeah,
Yeah, happy to have you. I hope the weather's better where you
no
are
problem.
today.
Thanks for having me. It's actually pretty nice here. It's like -5, and that storm you have is coming our way like late tonight, supposedly. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, we got like 10 inches overnight.
Get your snow shovels ready for that one.
it's always ready outside the door.
So, Jared,
Perfect.
you have this kind of a similar story, but you guys are actually older than Parkland. You are a fourth generation grower. Was there ever any doubt that you were gonna jump in to the nursery business? Did you ever have aspirations outside of the green industry?
Nothing too crazy. I kind of always was around here with that. I had that in the back of my mind. I started working here at a young age. Unless I was going to make the NHL, then I was probably going to stick around here and work at the nursery and the family business. I was a goalie just like Bree is, was. So, yeah, that's kind of my story. We're almost at 100 years as a company. So we're actually planning our 100-year party as we speak.
That's pretty incredible. And like, as you see and get more involved in a company, when you realize that you've been around for a century, that's quite an incredible milestone. So congratulations to the Aubin crew for doing that and evolving.
Thank you.
I guess a question that we had about that is, what's it like to be an integral part of a 100-year-old business? And is that a daunting task to kind of carry the torch, or is it kind of inspiring to continue the legacy?
Yeah, it is inspiring. I would say it's an honor to be part of the Aubin family. Certain elements might be a little daunting when you think about it, but I have a twin brother that also works with me. So knowing that I'm not alone going forward, we kind of work side by side. So, that is a nice way to think about it, right? Not everybody has that luxury. So our roles are quite different. Like I'm more involved in sales and administration in the office, and he's more involved in production and a lot of stuff behind the scenes with inventory. But we still both help out with whatever needs to be done around the nursery at any given moment. So, it's nice having a twin because not everyone has that. So,
Did he also play hockey? Were you guys on the same team
no,
or?
he didn't play hockey. He tried it or at a very young age alongside me, but it wasn't for him. So,
That's
yeah,
fair.
So it wasn't his
I was
backup
hoping for.
what
plan to be in the
was
NHL?
wasn't his backup. No, he did quite a few other things in life before coming back to the nursery. But, once COVID kind of hit and he was ready to jump in full time and kind of fell in love with it. And, I love plants, but he's even more of a plant guy than I am. Like he has a, true passion for that part. So he's really got the drive for it.
Nice.
And you have a younger brother as well. Is he looking towards coming into the nursery, or is that a TBD?
Yeah, he's a few years younger than us, but he's still almost 30. He's just finishing up a business degree and he's still thinking about it, but he's not sure yet, right? He has a little bit of experience at the nursery, not as much as we did by that age, so it's still a possibility. We're kind of that's a TBD thing.
That's good. It's the joys of a family business
Yeah.
is your siblings' plans and how that family legacy continues for sure. I don't have a twin, but I do understand having a sibling in the nursery for sure.
Right.
Um,
I mean, he is welcome, it's just I always the way I look at it is the more help the better, right? So,
well, exactly. And when you have good family and like that you can count on them, sometimes it feels like those are the only people that you're like, I know for sure that we are going to have X amount of people show up and they're all blood related to me. Like,
well,
I,
there's a lot of companies, especially in our industry, where it doesn't always work, right? You hear a lot of stories. So, when it does work and you get along, you gotta appreciate that, right?
oh, exactly. Yeah, you hear some horror stories for sure, and I know it's not for everyone. I do think one of the secrets is that, like you were kind of alluding to, you have your uh, sector and your responsibility, and your brother has his, and yeah, like everyone helps out, which is an awesome mentality. But it's nice when you kind of have your set roles, and then it doesn't feel like you're tripping over each other, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Like we have a small old office that we're hoping to upgrade at some point. So we all kind of work in the same area. Our dad's still there; he's still in charge, but he's given a lot of that responsibility to us and a couple other people in the office. So he's there's not quite as much on our dad's shoulders as there used to be, which is a good thing. It's been good for the company. So
Do you think, like, with it being a 100-year-old company, that it kind of helps set those roles for all the family members? Like, if it was a more of a recent company, you'd be struggling to find your roles as an employee or employer, and now you guys have been working in it for generations. It's kind of just the, not a standard, but would you say that it
I
helps
would
with
say
that?
so, yeah, because once as you get older, everyone kind of figures out their strengths, right? And where there's an opportunity with staff retiring as the years go on, right? Like when Garth kind of came in a few years ago, in the start of COVID, there was somebody retiring in that role that had to do with inventory, so and production as well. So it actually ended up working out really good for him to kind of jump in, learn, but at the same time fill a role that needed to be filled, right? So I would say yes in that regard.
What was your first job on the farm? Where did Jared Aubin start his nursery adventure?
Oh, it would have been over 20 years ago now, which makes me sound old, but I'm not. Oh, the first job in the greenhouse would have been, well, Garth was there too. It was my twin. We were filling flats, like for the crew,
Mhm.
for potting and sticking cuttings and all that stuff. Because at that time, that job needed to be done ahead of time, right? And it was pretty tedious. We had a flat filling machine, and it was a good job for a 12-year-old to do. So that was the first job we did in the greenhouse, and then down at the container farm, it would have been, throwing out dead plants with the trailers, right? Going around throughout the whole nursery, throwing out dead plants, and then basic weeding, right? Weeding, we still weed today. So, like not us. No, I don't do a lot of weeding today, but our staff still does, especially in the evening. So yeah, those basic jobs is what we started with.
I'm picturing Jared on a sales call as he's weeding pots. In
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? There was
Oh no, for sure.
there was one situation about 15 years ago where like the weeds were kind of getting out of control, and my dad literally had everybody go out there, like almost everybody in the entire company for like 4 hours and just weed, right? To get it a little bit under control. It was crazy.
No dessert. It's time to weed.
Literally. And it was hot too. It was like it was in August or something, and some people probably weren't happy, but I remember that day. It was crazy.
We have
Funny.
a similar experience with sod because like when you have sod on a site and you got to put it down. So we've had most of our office sodding sometimes if people call in sick or whatnot. So like my mom, she's an accountant, she's a rock star, and she'll put on her boots and she'll come sodding. So we understand that whole all hands on deck piece, kind of like the Aubins.
I feel like it's a good trait in a company when you have flexibility and people willing to do what needs to get done, right? Like especially in a family business or a smaller company, it's important.
It is, yeah. It's not so much you're in your own hole of a role. You just kind of, like you said, you make sure everything gets done, and that's the way it
Right?
needs to be.
Especially when
Nothing,
short-staffed.
well, nothing's more annoying when someone's like, "Oh, that's above my pay grade or below my pay grade or whatever." That if you ever want to see a Brie size hole in a roof, drop that line, and that's when I.
I wasn't hired for that.
So the nursery industry, we all know that it's intense, right? Like you have so many days to make a living, so many nice days, and that sometimes makes it kind of hard to do work-life balance. How do you navigate that? Because you actually, for the listeners, you're a good golfer and you've won some things, and so you don't necessarily have the conventional like, oh, I work really hard and flat out spring, summer, fall, and then winter's off. Like you seem to have figured out a system that works for you that you can kind of have that work-life balance throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm definitely an above average golfer. I'm not a scratch or a pro by any means, but I've done a few things and won some tournaments with some friends. So yeah, that's one way during the summer that I like to unwind, get out with friends, relax, right? We have men's night here in town, so that's every Wednesday. And then on the weekend, if I can, I'll go out once. So that's what's one of my main hobbies, right? Because we don't have a lot of time for, more than that. In the winter, we still have a lot of work to do, like office work, right? We're entering orders, we're working on production, there's lots going on. But if we can, it's nice to get away for a week, go somewhere warm. And then by the time spring rolls around, you're kind of recharged and ready to jump back into it, right? And we're getting close to that point. I mean, perennial potting's already started in the greenhouse. Our crew is in there right now, and things are happening. So
Okay, well, there's two
So
things.
humble. Won some
Yeah,
things.
I was going to say there's two things. One we'll touch on because you guys did a big greenhouse expansion, which is really cool, and we'll talk about that. But before we jump there, Alec, Jared is being incredibly gracious. It's the RBC. What is it? I always botch this name. What is the
P-
RBC competition?
it's the PGA or RBC PGA Scramble is what it is.
Yeah.
We won that tournament in 2019 in Nova Scotia. So
Oh, wow.
that was that
That's
was
pretty
fun.
good.
That was probably one of the coolest things I ever did.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
I was gonna say pretty good leap from the NHL to no, I'll do golf too semi
That's right.
casually.
Yeah. That was actually after that happened. That was actually the other podcast that I did was like some guys from Ontario reached out and of all the players on my team and asked me to do a podcast. So that was fun.
Yeah, no, that's very cool, very impressive, very yeah, didn't allude to
Thank
that
you.
at
yeah,
all.
super humble when he says want some things. I actually
Did some stuff, hit some
I
ball.
got to know Jared on an international growers tour in Amsterdam. Like we were like the two munchkins by
And,
like a
and Italy.
landslide.
Don't forget Italy.
In Italy. Yeah, no, but like the first time I met you
Yeah.
was in the Netherlands when we were trying to figure out how to eat the food in front of us and what the things in front of us were. We bonded there with the inexperience, but he was just as humble as he is right now about his winning in his golf tournament. So I think that's really cool and something that should be celebrated. So
We were
Definitely.
close to getting back last year. We won the local tournament out of 32 teams, and then we almost made it out of the provincial tournament. So we were close to getting back to Nova Scotia. It's just really hard, right? Like it's a team tournament, but if you have the right mix and you can do it again. So
Nice. Well, maybe
maybe
next
next
year,
year. That's the goal every year.
every year.
and then you have to come back on the podcast to celebrate on this one.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah, on this
and
one
do,
only.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you back to green industry because that is what we're here for.
Yeah.
And actually, let's be real, I can't hold a golf conversation.
Keep
That is not my
thrusting.
strength. But the greenhouse, you guys just built a new one. Tell us about that. How's that going?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It was a long time coming. It's another open range, so it connects to the one we had before. One is a 16 foot, the new one, and then it connects to the old one, which is 12 foot. And we built a really large shipping area in between, which is where we do our potting now as well at this time of year. And we didn't have that kind of space before. When you in the spring when you're busy shipping, you line up all those pallets. Before we had like this really small hallway and it would get very crowded. So just having that extra space is huge. We have a loading dock back there now as well that the trucks can back down into so that they're right level with the
Nice.
ground. We used to have to load old school with the forklift, lifting the pallets up onto the truck, and it's just a lot more modern than we used to have old hoop houses back there, right? That they all were individual and they
Oh
branched
yeah.
off of the main hallway. And now we have a propagation bay as well, and so that's in between the shipping area and the new open range. And then we're trying out some LED lighting in there, which is going well. We've got bench heat and we got some rolling benches. That's all in the propagation house, which again we didn't have before. So it's giving us the ability to
Nice.
do a lot of new things. There's better air movement in there. And it's just a really cool place to show off. Like we give quite a few tours every year, right? A lot of customers want to come see the place. So we just had some students out from Winnipeg a few weeks ago that we gave a tour to, and they were there to learn about production facilities. It was a group of 10, but it was neat to show what we have.
How many growing seasons have you gotten out of the new facility?
This would be I think it's our second. It was basically finished 2 years
Nice.
ago. So
You sound like you're like now the Jetsons of the green industry. Like that's really exciting. All the new things that you have brought to Aubin Nurseries.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It was this was always a dream of my dad's to get this new greenhouse going. So, and we always need more space, right? I think we might actually put up a few more small new ones this season as well in the same area. Just not connected to this new one.
Nice. In what ways would you say that the industry, like the nursery industry, is evolving? Like, are there new trends emerging, kind of return to old trends? Are you seeing any kind of, yeah, cyclical ones that way? But
Yeah, there's definitely a few. I would say automation is a big one, right? We work in a very old school industry in a lot of ways, but just some of the machines and technology that companies are able to use now is big, right? Like you got potting machines. We actually just bought a tree potting machine for the first time, so we're excited to try that out this spring.
If you're serious about growing in the green industry, this opportunity is for you. The 2026 Garden Centers Canada Summit is happening this July 5th to 8th in Montreal, Quebec. We're talking 3 days of big ideas, real strategies, and serious networking with the best in the industry. From expert sessions to behind the scene tours of top garden centers, this is where you go to get inspired. If you're in the green industry, this is the room you want to be in. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Head to www.cnla.ca/events/GCC-summit-26 and register today.
it's pretty interesting. You guys seemed like you were the pioneer of the U-pick fruits, the first mist irrigation, some of the greenhouses, and then the first container grown stock on the prairies too, which I thought was really neat. Yeah, if you can kind of talk about that a little bit, just thinking outside the box, trying different things. Obviously, it's taken off in a whole manner of industries now. So
Yeah, it was my great grandfather Gerald that started it in 1927, and it was, you're right, like basically a U pick. You got to start somewhere, right? And he bought this land here right by like behind the greenhouses. We There's a river, and so it was a good source, right? A good place to start. And slowly it just kind of grew, and wholesale didn't really start until, quite a bit later. And then he was killed pretty young in 1958 in a car accident, actually, not far from here. So my grandpa Lawrence, he took over around that time. He was only 22, and a lot of the things that he did in the next 30 years were kind of innovative, sometimes like kind of risky, right? Especially if you didn't have the money, sometimes you have to take out a loan. Yeah, we were one of the first to build the large cold storage facility here at the time. Like it was quite big. There's mist lines in there, and we still use it to this day. So that gave you the ability to keep the bare root shrubs and trees in there all winter long, right? And
yeah,
then the container farm, that was kind of started around the early 80s, I believe. A lot of it was trial and error, but we were one of the first ones to try it, right? And they kind of had an idea that the future was container production, and that's the majority of our business today. Like, we don't sell bare root anymore, which is really nice. So I remember
That
no,
film,
no,
film
you
just
had no personal
I
preference.
used to
Yeah,
work on the loading dock for a lot of years before the office, and I remember we'd have to bring the semi down the highway, load up some bare root, take it back and forth all day long. It wasn't ideal. So I don't miss that at all.
that's fair. Well, it's. I mean, it speaks to the 100-year company too, that you guys have kind of been innovative throughout especially the early years, and even now with the greenhouse expansion, it just goes to show what thinking outside the box can lead to longevity. So that's
Well,
really neat, and obviously it's
yeah,
worked
you
well.
you have to adapt as years go on, right? Like you can't just, stay in motion. You gotta upgrade your company too, right? You gotta put money back into your company and upgrade your facilities at some point. So,
so the trend that we're kind of seeing out, I guess, further west than you is, yeah, I
Yeah,
was
out
gonna say out west,
west.
but I was like, oh, we're in the same kind of category. Is it going a lot more to like container trees, just because you don't have to invest in like $100,000 skid steer, you don't have to have an operator that can pass a drug test, operate it safely, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see the trend in?
No emphasis on the drug test.
hey, you
Well,
never know.
that's actually like a huge challenge is people
It is,
can't.
yeah.
And so I'm just curious, like in Manitoba, are you noticing that a lot more people want potted trees versus caliper trees, even with the municipalities?
Yeah, like you've got municipalities and government that, they still, for boulevards, they like their wire baskets, but demand is can't keep up with supply. And there are a lot of companies and people that are just accepting 15, 20 gallon trees, and sometimes they do reach the required caliper, right? Usually it's 50 millimeter.
Yeah.
We are seeing a lot of people going towards that large potted size, especially landscapers, right? Like we sell to a lot of landscapers as well as garden centers. So sometimes people are just taking what they can get.
Yeah, that's fair. For us, I think it's very few and far between for container trees on any of our jobs. I think everyone would like that a little bit more, but is what it is. I mean, for us, we could plant 100 of those in a day compared to like 25, 30 of baskets.
It's
So
But
just
the
all
impact of a caliper
yes,
wire basket tree, like that goes wow. Yeah.
100%.
I've
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like the end result way better for sure, but just even for logistics wise.
I've seen some 25 gallons that are pretty big and that aren't far off from a B&B tree, but I know what you mean. It really has that wow factor. And they have their
Hmm.
requirements, right?
Totally. Yes, they sure do. They sure do. What do you think people outside the industry kind of misunderstand about nursery production? Is there a common, oh, I just wish people knew this more, or
I would say a lot of people don't really realize how much work and how many details go into nursery production. Obviously, every nursery is different, so what's required is different in a lot of different companies. But there's so many little things that can really, well, derail your business, right? Like plant health is a big thing that no one thinks about, right? Like, you're dealing with living things. So it's not like you're just selling some TVs from a warehouse that can sit there. If you don't have people in place that are keeping an eye on these things, the day-to-day activities when you're busy, keeping an eye on the staff. There's so many things that can go wrong in in our industry, right? Especially in a nursery when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of shrubs and perennials and trees. It's a lot. So people have to realize, people are working really hard. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and sometimes people get upset when they can't get a certain tree or a certain size or something, and you just gotta be appreciative of what you can get.
yeah, I know me and Bree always have those conversations on municipalities looking for something like immediately or a new variety of tree, and it's like, well, you're 7 years out, so maybe we'll talk about that
Right.
soon. But
Yeah. It takes time, especially the trees, right? It's a little different with shrubs and perennials. You can have
yeah,
a 1 or 2 year turnaround. And like part of my job in
hmm,
sales is suggesting subs all the time, right? And more often than not, people will take a sub. So, it's important to know your stuff.
yeah, definitely, right? Yeah, we run into that all the time where yeah they spec something that just isn't available, and yeah we work through all the substitutions with our suppliers, and yeah it's definitely a part of the process because it's hard to put it on paper and say, hey, go find
Right,
that, please.
right. And people just assume that you can get it. Well, it's not always that easy.
No, no, not always.
Well,
Not
and so many
always.
people kind of to your comment about not realizing how much work goes into a nursery. Like how many people have started like their little backyard nurseries on acreages because how hard is it to grow a spruce tree, right? And when you think about how many times you touch that tree, prune that tree, water, fertilize, pest management, all those kinds of things, it adds up. And when that tree takes 7, 8 years to grow to get to that certain size and to CNLA spec, yeah, like it is frustrating when people don't have that same appreciation and they boggle at the price, being like, well, I could grow that. All right.
Good luck.
Do it. I dare you.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, especially the labor, like you said, the different jobs, the time, the digging, the planting. That is why you have to charge what you have to charge, and still make there still has to be a margin at the end. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Yeah, caliper trees, it's a big part of our business, but it's still just a part, right? So it's not everything for us.
We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but what is it like being a part of a 100-year-old business? Like, is it kind of daunting to carry that torch forward into the next generation, or is it kind of like a challenge or inspiring to yourself and obviously other members of your family? But yeah, is what would you kind of categorize
Yeah, I
that?
would say it's an honor to be part of the family. It is inspiring. It's kind of always been a big motivating factor in the back of my mind growing up. And now, being one of the two main salespeople here, I get to go on the road and visit customers and represent and go to trade shows and especially the one in Alberta, that's the big one for us, right? Being at the booth and representing as an Aubin and a twin. That's always a nice icebreaker. So people usually don't believe that we're twins. So I would, it is inspiring, and to have two good parents that are involved in the business is nice. So
That's where we have
Hmm.
to pan to a picture of you and Garth because if you did meet the Aubin boys on the show floor, you would not say that they were they were twins at all. So that I could see how some people would be thinking that you're yanking their chain for sure.
If you can figure out how to get a picture of us on the screen, then go for it.
I'll have to keep an eye out for you guys next
Yeah,
year.
for
Yeah.
sure.
So thinking about the youth, like you and your brother are pretty young, and you guys are entering that succession plan and your career. What do you think the industry could maybe do better to attracting young people? Because you and I kind of have a different path than, say, Alec. Alec is found the green industry on his own. You and I kind of grew up where we didn't necessarily know a lot different, and we started very much at the bottom of the totem pole and just continue to work our skills and grow our knowledge. But yeah, how can we attract young people to our industry?
I would say, we have a very old school type industry. Like there's a lot of companies that are still kind of run by, the generation past us and past our parents one or generation. So they have to be able to like learn to let go a little bit and give more responsibility to the young people once they get involved in the company and learn how to delegate, right? Because there's a lot of people that won't let go of responsibility, which it can hold your company back, right? Some people will get involved and then say, "There's no opportunity for me here. I'm gonna go elsewhere or go to a different industry," right? And historically, I think our industry, it maybe didn't always pay as well as it should compared to other industries. I think it's getting better because companies are realizing they have to pay a little more to hold on to good staff, right? And we're always short staffed in this industry. It's a struggle. That's why we have to go to the foreign workers program, which is important for us too. So I would say that's the answer.
You guys, because Carmen is a little bit outside of Winnipeg,
We're we're an hour away. Yeah, it's
do you guys struggle with your labor? Is that
we
a substantial
overall
challenge?
overall we do pretty well. We're in a good area where we're also close to a couple larger communities south of us, Morden and Winkler. We're able to draw a lot of good staff from there, and a lot of people from there have been with us for quite a few years. It's only about 25, 30 minutes away. So between that, a few people from our town and the foreign worker program, we usually do well. We get a lot of high school students as well that fill time part time after school or on weekends on Saturdays. So we do okay. But every year there's still roles that need to be filled, right? Whether it's a truck driver, we need to have two full-time drivers that do our deliveries to Winnipeg and all over Manitoba every day during the season. So got to have reliable people.
Oh, absolutely. You talked about earlier that you might put up a couple smaller greenhouses structures this year. Beyond that, do you have any future goals? Do you or Garth have future goals for Aubin right out of the gates, or because you guys obviously just did a big expansion, so maybe it's just letting the dust settle and see how that goes?
Right. Well, another thing that we're planning on doing is we want to build another container pad like for shrubs. We always need more space, right? Because you want to space as much as possible. I would say as far as future goals, we just want to maintain being one of the top suppliers in Western Canada for independent garden centers and landscapers and maintaining the quality that we've been able to establish in the last few years. We're keeping a lot of top-notch companies quite happy, which is no easy feat, but our staff does a really good job. And ever since COVID, things have been quite good. So
Nice.
What still excites you? Like I don't know, we know that you're not this like 50-year-old guy talking to us about his green industry experience, but you've been in it since you were 12. Like you've been around the block, as they would say. What still gets you excited about the green industry?
yeah, I still get excited, during the season. I'm in the office a lot, but once we get into summer and things are starting to grow out there and you drive around the pads and you see all the different color, once things start getting into bloom, it just still excites me, right? To see all the new plants, to see how things are doing. Like I try and get out there like once a day in the morning just to see what's going on. And it's a nice break from the office. So, that still excites me a lot. And then just being involved in sales, right? Whether it's acquiring new customers that you didn't have before or getting a large order, that's still exciting. So I enjoy that part of it a lot, making a difference in the company.
So I got to ask
Nice.
because Alec and I bonded a couple episodes ago about because we are on the install side of it a lot. Do you get excited when you know that that's your tree in projects? And do you point that out to whoever you're driving with? Or are you like kind of a cooler person than we are?
No, I still do that because you see our tag. Like last summer when we were playing in that provincial golf tournament, I noticed one of our trees right by the clubhouse, and I had to tell my team and our pro that I was playing with. So, and then even all over Winnipeg, you'll see it randomly on a street corner, right? Like, oh, that's our tree, that's our tag. So you kind of you can't help but point it out. Something to be
This is
proud
gonna this is gonna be
Perfect.
our benchmark when we bring people on or ask if people will join us. Like if you don't get excited about those things, then I'm sorry, you're not gonna fit with the show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're the uncool person, obviously.
it is something to get excited by, right? You want to be proud of what you're putting out there. So
If you were to do it all again, what advice? I know it sounds kind of corny, but what advice would you give yourself about the profession, about the green industry? What would you give young Jared? Some words of wisdom.
I really don't think I would change anything that I did. I know
Get to the
that's kind of
NHL.
corny, but yeah, well there's that, but unrealistic. I would say, I'm happy with the way, I had good education growing up and a lot of good work experience and just trying to be prepared as best I can for, to where I am today, right? So I would say I'm pretty happy with how things turned out.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It's always good to
Yeah.
hear. Yeah.
Not that you need our approval for your answer, but
Yeah, that's
You a-
perfect.
you,
Good
you
answer,
asked
man.
what you get.
I feel like we're on like what is it, Family Feud, where they're like, oh, they get their answer and like, good answer, even if it's
Terrible.
regardless of the answer. Yeah, they're just all proud. Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't been feuding today, so maybe next time.
sounds good. So the way we end our interviews is we get a question from our previous guest to ask a question for our current guest, and they don't know who that current guest is. So it kind of has to be a little bit open ended. And so our last one was going to stir the pot. So Alec and I decided that we maybe don't want to stir that pot.
No politics on
Yeah,
the show.
we don't want to get canceled before we even get
Yeah,
started. So
no, that's understandable. So you changed it.
so yeah, so we changed it. So we took some creative liberty, and we'll own that.
Okay.
And so our question is, if you could have started your nursery anywhere else, and you weren't just carrying on the legacy in Carmen, Manitoba, where would you have a nursery and why?
I think I'd have to pick Hawaii because it's beautiful there, and I've been there a few times, and I've driven past nurseries there, and it looks awesome. So how could you not complain? How could you complain about being in a a summer round like year round summer place like that, right? Like, and it's beautiful. So I think I'd have to go
For
with that.
for as long as I've known you, Jared, which is not a tremendous amount of time, but still long enough, you could be the poster boy for Hawaii. I know that your love for Hawaii runs very, very deep. So
Well,
I guess that might be one of your top places.
my fiance's been there a couple times with me now. That's where we got engaged, so it holds a special place in our hearts, and she also fell in love with it. So yeah, I am a Hawaii poster boy, I guess.
Well, it's a good place to go, that's for sure.
That's fantastic. What would be your question for the next guest? And again, you don't get to have any hints on who it might be, but it could be industry related or it could just be super random. You get to pick.
Super random. I'm gonna go with who is your favorite professional athlete and why?
I love that. In the
Nice.
spirit of Olympics.
Yes, and just being a sports guy.
Yeah, I know because we were talking about the Olympics before you jumped on, and I was like, oh, if there's a guy that would join this conversation, it would be Jared Aubin on the Olympics.
I haven't actually watched as much Olympics as you'd think, just because you're busy doing other stuff. But I still follow along,
Yeah.
and I watched a little bit of the
Well,
hockey. So
I don't,
yeah, it's weird times too. Like it's hard to commit to that. I woke up. We watched the women's. It would have been their game against. Oh, I can't even remember now. Thursday last week, but we all got to the office early at like 6:15 just to watch it because yeah, it was a fun thing to do and yeah, it's just crazy that by like noon it's all over for the day, right?
yeah,
so
the time changes does make it tough.
Yeah.
Jared on our international tour that we were on, and like, so we were in
thinking the
Italy
same
last
thing.
year. Yeah, I was gonna say Jared and Alex Godfrey, so two people that are gonna be on the show.
Yeah.
They were watching Team Canada. Wasn't it 3 a.m. or something?
It was, yeah, well, it started at 2 a.m. and didn't end up finishing till like 6. So we basically had like 2 or 3 hours of sleep before we had to get up for a nursery tour. So felt pretty
Nice.
awful the next day. There was a few more. There was about 5 or 6 of us, but we were pretty dedicated, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for some reason I can't see Bree joining in that
She
group.
really
I don't know
values
why
her
I can't
sleep,
see that,
so
but
Yeah, if I can stay up till for midnight gelato, no problem. That I can handle. It's the like
and that
going
I
to
didn't do.
bed and then waking up. Like
yeah.
I can stay up. I can't do the wake up in the middle of the night. That's where I
I
draw a
think
line.
I think I made sure I slept from like 12 to 1:30, and then it was time to go downstairs to there was like a special little room
Oh
in that
yes.
special small hotel where
Pre-nap.
we could watch it. So
Yeah,
That's
there was like
awesome.
6 of them that were dedicated and pumped, and yeah. So I thought about you guys when I was looking at some of the different times for this Olympics, and I'd have to say this Olympics has been kind of wild with all the scandals and the drama. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, the curling.
there's a lot
Oh, the
going on.
curling, the biathlon. I'm like, when did the Olympics have so much tea associated with them?
I think it's just the way of the world these days. There's just, and with social media and cameras, it probably always was there, but now it's just magnified, and that's why you're hearing about so much, right?
Yeah, it's got to be curling.
Of course.
Yeah, out of all the sports
Like it's
to
so
have a
funny.
scandal,
Yeah,
it's
the
yeah,
spicy. Yeah.
and yelling at each other across the ice. I was like, wow, this feels very not Canadian, and also feels very wild for the sport that we're watching right now.
I know. Then they pan to like their intermission in between everything, and everyone's just like having a snack and everything. I'm like, this is so wild. Like they're just screaming at each other, and they're like, banana
It's supposed to
break.
be a pretty tame sport, and everyone's supposed to get along, right?
Yeah, it's they decided, you know what, we need to have a little bit of drama and a little bit of spice for new viewership.
I'm sure it's drawn a lot more
Yeah,
people in.
exactly.
Oh, I'm sure the demographic is wild of who it's drawn in as well. So, well, Jared,
Totally.
I'm sure there's the Olympic highlights that you could probably be watching right now, so we should probably let you go. But we just want to say thank you very much for joining us and having a chat and giving the perspective of like a youthful grower. It's you are the next generation taking over in the industry, and so it's really great to kind of hear your perspective, how things are going at Aubin Nursery, how you got started, and where you kind of see the future to take you guys. So thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me and inviting me in the first place. It was a lot of fun, and it's nice to share, my experience and just everything that's going on here. So, thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, and the next time you win at RBC, we'll be lining up for your next.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
field trip.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you know. It's on the to-do list, so we'll see. I'll keep trying.
Yeah, definitely let us know. We could do a live. We'll set up a table and do a live podcast of, ooh, that was a golf swing. Good job.
Yeah, no one would actually join our podcast for the golf take.
No.
You never know,
No.
maybe a few.
We could evaluate the grass or something, maybe.
Our parents do not count as the few subscribers to that portion of it.
Yeah, well, that's
Awesome.
valid.
Well, thank you very much, Jared.
Yeah, thanks again, and have a good day, guys. Thank you.
Well, no, that was really cool. I mean, it was nice for me, just having that more of a nursery perspective too. I have the privilege of buying things from nurseries and touring them sometimes, but just to hear about all the behind the scenes, and we do have our own kind of nursery, but we don't grow any stock or anything on it. It's more of a warehouse, so it was nice to hear that perspective, and like you said, that youthful energy to it was really neat, especially coming from a 100-year-old company. Like that's crazy.
Well, and I guess like as someone who has similar shoes as Jared, just like really appreciate that connection and getting to know him over the years, because I don't think it's often that you have someone that's very similar in age that you are also passing the torch or getting the torch passed to you about the same time. It's always nice
Totally.
to have people that understand, where you're at, because, I have really great friends, but not a lot in agriculture. And so it is nice to have an industry buddy that, has going through that in a similar capacity. It's the Aubin family is an incredibly kind and, as you saw, innovative family. Like they care about the quality of the plants, they care about the industry. So it's exciting to see where Aubin Nurseries goes as they move forward too.
Yeah, maybe they'll pioneer something super out of the box again soon.
Yeah, and that I really enjoyed how Jared was like, yeah, you can't really stay stagnant because everything's always changing, demand is changing, trends are changing, and so you kind of have to keep up with that or you will get left behind, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, incredibly right, especially in all the climate changes we're seeing and everything that growers are having to deal with all the time and changing standards and new trends and everything. It's impressive that they've been able to weather 100 years of that.
Yeah, and also just like, I don't think a lot of people know a lot of towns and cities in Manitoba. Like they're not in the epicenter of Winnipeg. They're so also like how does that play into like their labor force or getting plants to market and all those kinds of things too.
Yeah, it was neat. Like, we're kind of fortunate that our labor force is local, so to speak. Like it's there, but maybe willing or unwilling. But the fact that they have to, oh yeah, yeah, like the nearest, so there's some big towns half an hour away that draw some people to us was kind of a neat thing that we've never really, or at least I haven't had to deal with. It'd be like, oh yeah, no, there's a good labor force half an hour away, but it's not that far.
And it's also interesting because I don't know if you've experienced it, and then like this next generation, there's way more people without driver's license, let alone a car.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I just like, guess I grew up just outside of Red Deer, and so you kind of counted down till you were 16, and so that you could go places because it's not like you had a ton of things in walking distance. Like we literally when
Totally, yeah.
we had like the garden center near my parents' house, like that's what was in walking distance.
Yeehaw.
Yeah. I'm like, let's go fold some trays. Like, yeah, there's not a lot of options.
No, even for me, like growing up because I grew up just north of north of Edmonton there, but yeah, it was as soon as I turned 14, it was like, okay, I got to get my learner's license. That's mandatory. And then as soon as I turned 16, it was got to get my driver's license, and it was totally just a thing to do, to explore and to kind of branch out into that next life activity, I guess, right? Like a total new sense of freedom, and I still can't understand how, like you said, it's such a trend for people not to have driver's license. Like they rely on buses to get around to the city, and it's logistically challenging for an employer for sure.
Well, absolutely. It's funny that you said like at 14 you went and got your learners. I was not the 14-year-old eager person because I was like, well, I still have to have a parent driving with me. I only need to hold it for that time a year. So I was like, I get to drive at the nursery.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, there was no.
That's fair. Yeah.
I was like, I have more freedom. I'm fine. So I waited till I was 15. There was no hustle for 14-year-old Brie to get her learners.
That's fair. No, I was very motivated.
That does not surprise me. Eager young Alec.
Yep. Yeah, eager young Alec. Well, perfect. I think that kind of wraps it up for us today. Thank you so much for listening again. And please remember to subscribe, follow on all of CNLA's social platforms so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for branching out.